What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Awakening World. I'm your host, Love Coach Scott Katamas, and tonight I am so grateful for who we have on our show because I think that probably the biggest thing that people are talking about, other than impact of the new presidential administration, is disclosure. There is an unprecedented wave of sightings. Some people say it's drones. Some people say it's military. Some people say it's ET. Some of our experts that we've had on the show think it's probably all of those things. And we have with us tonight really probably the foremost voice for abduction and the transformation process of connection to ET. And of course, I'm talking about Whitley Strieber. And we're really grateful to have Whitley with us. And I knew that once Whitley said yes, I wanted to make sure we also had John Martin, our beloved friend, who for me is the role model of how to connect to our galactic family. It's going to be a dynamic conversation. I want to invite everybody to ask questions, be ready to converse with us. And as we always do, we will start our show with music with our beloved house musical artist, our good friend, Omashar. Take it away, brother.
Well, welcome everybody. I'm really looking forward to tonight's show. In fact, we're already in it, so here we are. And I'm just going to start us off with a little song about the universe. And let's get grounded and strap ourselves in for a dynamic evening, because it truly is. It's time for the truth to be revealed on every level about everything, right?
Right.
Words are flying out like endless rain into a paper cup. They slither wildly as they slip their way across the universe. Pulls of sorrow, waves of joy are drifting through my open mind, possessing and caressing me. Jai Guru Deva Om. world. We are here to change our world. We're all here to change our world. We are here to change our world. Images of broken light which dance before me like a million eyes. They call me on and on across the universe. Thoughts meander like a restless wind inside a letterbox. They tumble blindly as they make their way across the universe. Jai Guru Deva. Oh, we are here to change our world. We're all here to change our world. We are here to change our world. We're all here to change our world. Sounds of laughter, shades of life are ringing through my opened ears, inciting and inviting me. Limitless, undying love which shines around me like a million suns. It calls me on and on across the universe. Jai Guru Deva. Oh, we are here to change our world. We are here to change our world. We're all here to change our world. We are here to change our world. Jai Guru Deva. Jai Guru Deva. Jai Guru Deva.
Let's all give a beautiful twinkle to Omashar. What a perfect song. Several of the people in the chat box wrote what a perfect song that is, Omashar, and it really, really is.
Yay. Thank you.
And a reminder, everybody, that you can get Omashar's music on YouTube. If you go to YouTube, just go to Omashar Music. There are his two new songs, Just a Breath Away and Hypnotized. And I see now you've got the true ones up there as well. So we've got some great music, some great videos. And thank you very much, Omashar. And of course, he'll be back a little bit later on in the show.
Thank you, Scott.
You know, I also want to acknowledge that most of you who are watching on our broadcast partners, and a big thanks to the Sign Network, who get us out to so many Facebook groups and pages, YouTube channels. Thank you, Alan Steinfeld. And you may want to come on into the Zoom room, especially if you have questions for Whitley Strieber. And it's easy to do that. Just go to globalpeacetribe.com. globalpeacetribe.com, click register for the new season. That'll take you to our registration page, and bingo, you will have your Zoom room links right away. And come and join us. We do shows twice a week, every Wednesday and Saturday night. We're doing a lot right now, all about what's happening with this extraordinary time. Is disclosure imminent? Is disclosure actually already happening? And that's going to be a big topic we're going to talk about tonight. And we've got with us, well, I first met Whitley when I was producing shows for the Paranormal Borderline and for Strange Universe back in the late 90s. And he has really been a leader in the field for a long time. And I'm going to introduce him by taking a look at his books. Now, of course, everybody knows Communion, or most everybody knows that, because that was his kind of breakthrough book. But he's actually written a lot of very important books for us, ranging on everything from Jesus to the afterlife, this new world that we are creating, solar flares, what you need to know. He is very, very active. And he also has an extraordinary podcast series, which we're going to be learning all about tonight. So with no further ado, it's my honor and my pleasure to bring on to the camera our good friend Whitley Strieber, and now I can't find him. There he is.
Oh,
Oh, hey, there he is. Hello, Whitley.
okay. Hi, how are you? Hi, everybody. I'm glad to be back.
It's good to have you back. Whitley, I'm going to get straight to the big question. What's your take on this global wave of sightings? What do you think they are? What information do you have about it?
Well, let's look at it. I presume you mean the drone sightings.
Yes.
Okay. It started at Lakenheath. Well, no, let's go back a little bit. It started in 2019 in Colorado and Nebraska, where for, I believe, 18 or 19 days, drones overflew this area. Linda Moulton Howe reports that there was at least one rancher who complained to her about cattle mutilation at that time. Nothing that was done successfully identified the drones. And the federal government was strangely apathetic about them. Next, in October of last year, they overflew Langley Air Force Base, one of the most secure facilities in the U.S. military. It is the headquarters air base for the CIA and does a lot else beside that. There were numerous attempts to control them in that airspace, including something that damaged, I believe, an F-16 fighter, which apparently had a collision with one of them. This was a failure. They were not successfully controlled in any way. Then comes October of this year, Lakenheath. I'm on now it's last year, time does fly. Lakenheath, UK. They appear over Lakenheath. This causes the British to go into a semi-meltdown. They end up closing their airspace and canceling all flights that night in the late night flights in the whole country. They do not know what is going on. What is happening at Lakenheath at that point, I don't know exactly where they were in this process, was a fundamental change in the relationship, the nuclear situation. The change is that the United States is redeploying nuclear weapons in the UK after a 20-year absence. The UK is defended basically at all times by 4 missiles aboard a Trident submarine. They have 3 Trident submarines, and one of them is always on station. The way it works in the UK is if a certain signal from London stops, the submarines do not communicate at all with the outside world. Once they leave port, they are silent until they return. This was in the past an effective way of hiding them. It isn't anymore. The Russians know where they are at all time, but we're still continuing the charade. Each submarine has on board a handwritten letter by whoever the current prime minister is, telling them what to do if that signal should stop. And so that's their very mild and frankly outmoded deterrent. The United States doesn't control any of those missiles or any of those submarines. They're controlled by Britain. However, the United States was putting missiles into Britain, as I said, for the first time in 20 years. And not only that, they are capable, warheads, they are capable of being attached to hypersonic missiles, which we do have. This means that they could reach targets in Russia in a matter of a few minutes. They could, in other words, reach Russian targets before Russia could react to the attack. A profoundly destabilizing event. So, and it happened also at the time when there was a transition of the presidency underway. A very destabilizing situation. Now, Donald Trump wins. His stated position is there is no such thing as global warming, and he intends to basically drill, baby, drill, and burn, baby, burn. The visitors have exactly two political issues. They're not really political issues, but we consider them that. One is the danger of nuclear war. Before I even knew I was in contact with them and engaged with them, I wrote a book called War Day about the danger of nuclear war. Their second concern is climate change and the possibility that it will lead to a situation where the Earth is no longer able to support human beings in any significant numbers. The second book was called Nature's End. It was written immediately after War Day and immediately before the community experience happened. Okay, so they then show up, the drones then show up over Bedminster Golf Course, Trump's facility in New Jersey. He even mentions that he doesn't plan to sleep at the golf course, at the facility. This spreads over the area. And finally, it spreads over all kinds of areas in the world. Some of it is hobbyists trying to get clicks on the internet. Some of it is confusion, but a significant amount of it remains unidentified. Trump announces that the Biden administration doesn't think anything much about them. It makes essentially no effort to do anything about them. Trump says, well, as soon as he gets in office, he'll tell everybody what they are. He gets into office, and we soon have this absurdly mealy-mouthed response from the FAA saying they were allowed all along, and they were okay. They're fine. We're fine with them. They're approved. They weren't approved. They weren't approved over Colorado and Nebraska, and they certainly were not approved over Langley, and they weren't approved anywhere. Here's the truth. They have dominion, and right now they are trying to hide the fact from the public that whoever controls these drones is in control. They have dominion because we can't do anything about them. And all of this prevarication from the government is designed to conceal that. Who is it who has control of them? Well, let's look at the visitors' two concerns. Nuclear war, a profoundly destabilizing change in the strategic situation takes place. Drones show up. Climate change, a profoundly destabilizing situation occurs in that area. Drones show up. So what does that tell you? It tells you that whoever is behind the drones, and it may or may not be a human locomotion, it may be directly involved with NHI. I do know this. I had a someone sent me a flight path of a specialized plane that checks for undersea objects that flew up and down the coast of New Jersey for hours, the whole flight path, and it looks like a plane involved in some kind of a spaghetti bowl, and eventually it flies off. The reason being that they didn't find anything, even though that's where the drones were coming up, and still are. It's not over, but we've stopped talking about it. The media's moved on. The administration has said, the Trump administration has said, it's all fine, so it's all fine. I wonder if behind the scenes, anybody is bothering to face the fact that someone who has dominion, who we can't control, is very angry about the nuclear situation and the climate change situation. If they are ignoring it, we will hear more from them sooner or later. That's the story. Now you have the truth.
That absolutely resonates for me. Absolutely. A lot of the people that we have had on the show are people that believe that they're either in remote viewing or telepathic communication with our galactic family, as John likes to call them. And you just expressed with a lot of passion, and I think I've felt it, about the anger, the concern of our galactic family. Have you received, because you have such a unique connection, have you received any direct communication about kind of the current state of affairs?
I don't know. It doesn't work that way for me. I have this implant in my ear, and I use it in my work, in my writing. And I've used it for Afterlife Revolution. I used it for, in fact, I was taught how to use it by writing a very complex historical novel about Hitler that was set in the 30s and 40s. And doing that, I learned how to use the implant to do research. And subsequently, I've used it for all of my books. A New World was the book I wrote just after Afterlife Revolution. I wrote at my family's country house in Texas, and I would sit in the living room in the dark, all alone in the house in the middle of nowhere, not exactly the middle of nowhere, but pretty far out in the country. And the visitors would be out on the big wide porch outside, and we would work together telepathically. Then I got better at it, and now I do it at 3 o'clock in the morning in this house, in this apartment, in the living room. And at that hour when I'm writing, we work on the book. And it's telepathic for the most part. There's sometimes some physical stuff, but I'm not going to go down that path right now. And it's very efficient. I don't get like downloads or anything like that. It's much more straightforward. I'm not a downloads type person at all. If somebody's going to communicate with me, it's going to have to be quite straightforward. And the telepathic communication is easy, it's efficient, and it's very clear that it's not coming from my mind or my imagination. Not at all. So that's how that works. And no, I haven't gotten any downloads or anything from the higher level of whatever. I only know the beings I know, the visitors I know. I don't know anything else. I've met 2 tall whites and one of their children. I've met a Nordic, and I've met the Greys, and I'm heavily involved with them now and have been for many years. And that's where I stand.
That just came in from our audience. There's often been the thought that our galactic friends and family have either stopped nuclear exchanges in the past and or would stop nuclear exchanges. Do you have any thoughts or input about that?
I would strongly suggest that we not test that.
Yeah, right.
Basically.
Yeah.
Because I know the Greys very well, and I know their attitudes and their disposition, and they are capable of letting us go. and they are in charge here. This is their baby, more than anybody. This is their baby, and I really don't know what they would do if there was a nuclear exchange. They are in control of souls after you die and your body dies and your soul is unhitched from your spine. Then they basically have you. They can do whatever they want with you. And that's where they really are active. I don't know what they would do. And if I did know, I wouldn't tell you because
Okay.
because they you're going to have to, that's, if we want to test that, we're going to have to test it, and God help us. I will add one more thing. If we do test it and they do stop a nuclear war, everyone involved in compelling them to act on that is going to be extremely disappointed. They're going to have very, very bad days. The presidents, the dictators, and all of them. One thing we will end up with if they do stop a nuclear war is we won't have any leadership anymore, that anyone who participated in button pushing at all will be gone.
Well, I think probably most of us find that to be a relief.
Yeah, but you don't know whether or not the visitors would stop it. So
Yeah.
bear that in mind. And they're not going to tell anyone, not even me, not anyone, whether or not they would stop it.
Well, I agree. Hopefully that's not going to get tested.
I know there are a lot of people out there that say, oh, they've said they'll stop it. Forget it. They'll never say that, ever, because they're not here to compromise our free will. We have to make our own decisions.
Yeah. Would love to hear more about your understanding of how the Greys are in charge. That we're their baby. That's the first time I've heard that, and that's a very intriguing piece of awareness. Can you share more about that, please?
Well, a lot of people are scared of the Greys, and they think the Greys are demons, and the Greys are this and the Greys are that, and they much prefer the Nordics. Well, I'll be very frank with you. The Nordics have gone. They've been gone from here since the late 90s, and they're not coming back anytime soon. The Nordics are voiced. In other words, they're like us. They have voices. And the Greys did not like the fact that they could interact with us so directly. The Greys are not voiced. And I go into this in the fourth mind. The first part of it is a very accurate and precise description of the Greys' anatomy, their brains, their brain function, their genetics, the hybrids and their genetics, and how it all functions, and the difficulty the hybrids have because of their genetics, why the hybrids are unvoiced, and they are autistic because of complex things involving their genetics, all laid out in the book. If someone tells you they're a hybrid, and you know how to interrogate them telepathically, and you interrogate them and they don't say anything, they're not a hybrid, because they are fluently telepathic, and I cannot interrogate. In other words, I can't generate telepathy, but I can interrogate someone who's telepathic and get an immediate response. I will hear that. So, I've had people come up to me at conferences and say, I'm a hybrid. And so I interrogate them, and they don't say anything in the head, and they don't respond. And I say, oh, gee, I'm so pleased to meet you. Thank you so much for telling me. But every once in a while, that's not what happens. Every once in a while, I do get a response. And then I just do this. They move on. So we have a situation where the Greys are in charge because they are trying to draw us to a higher level. And that means discovering things within ourselves that will enable a voiced species to become telepathic, which the Nordics already are. But they can't teach us. The Greys can, because we can't communicate with them any way except telepathically. And if we're going to communicate with them, which we will need to do, we're going to have to become telepathic. And it's a sink or swim proposition. We have to do this. Their presence here as the lead team means that we have to equal them as best we can. And that's why it's like this. A new world if you can take it. What Phil Corso said, that is the key to everything. There's another key, but that's the main key. A new world if you can take it, if you can stand it, if you can handle it, and if you can you're strong enough to take it. Because what there is in this universe is a lot of love. And not all of that love is sweetness. John Martin is a very sweet guy, and he's into the sweet love, and he's very lucky in that respect. Most of us have got to handle tough love because we're way too passive, and we are confused. We're in denial. We don't want to look at our own souls for what they are, and that means tough love. And so we'll have that tough love. So that's kind of where this is. And that's why the Greys are the lead team on Earth, because, they're strong enough to do this. And they will do it if they can, unless we drop the thread and go extinguish ourselves. They will. Right now, where we are is this. We are at the end of one period of the equinox and the beginning of another. We are moving out of Pisces into Aquarius. Pisces is the fish. The fish swims in the waters of the world. It swims in the womb of the earth, is given everything it needs. The rain it raineth when it needs to rain. The little fish has always been given everything it needs by the womb of the earth. But the fish has grown. The fetus has grown and grown. Now the fetus is too big. The earth's waters are going to break. That's why Aquarius is pouring out her water. Somebody knew this a long time ago. This is not a surprise. And in the water that's poured out is the little fish, us. And now the fish is on dry land. That is to say, I didn't say the Greys were autistic. You misheard me. Somebody just put up a thing there. Or if I did say it, then I misstated myself. In any case, the fish is going to be on dry land. That is to say, the environment will not be able to support us anymore. So what does the fish do? What does it do? Well, either we're going to be born or we're going to die. We're going down the birth canal right now. That's what this era is all about. We've been so happy in the womb. Now that we're going down the birth canal, we're beginning to get nervous. Something's wrong somewhere. Some of us are claiming there is no birth canal. Some of us are claiming this isn't happening. But others, those of us who are more sensitive, we know it's happening. And we're in here too with all of the ones that don't know what they're doing. And we are actually the leading edge of this, because if this is going to work, it's going to be because of us, because of you guys and me and people like us. And hopefully there are enough of them around the world. Mankind is being born, and the Greys are midwives. They've done this before. This is not new to them. They're doing it now in other places. I've seen some very extraordinary things recently. They will show me things from other worlds, and they are a magnificent and quite terrifying presence, and a powerful presence, and they don't intend to lose the babies. They don't intend to. If they do, they do, and then they move on. But they don't want to lose these babies, and that means they don't want to lose us.
There, of course, is a very popular theory that, this is not the only populated planet. Obviously, I think most everybody knows there's a lot of populated planets, but there tends to be maybe a human ego trip that Earth is the only planet where there are human beings or where there's us. And I'm just curious, in these other worlds, especially since the Greys are kind of in charge here, are there other worlds with human species similar to or even identical to us?
Well, that's a good question. And I'm not going to get into it too deeply, except to say it's a big universe, 21 trillion planets, they think, in the universe. And a few of those might be inhabited by intelligent species. And I will tell you, there are certain forms, certain basic forms, and of which we are one and the Greys are another. But it's easier to divide the species into voiced and unvoiced. Uh, we are a voiced species for the most part. The Greys are an unvoiced species. That means they have individual personalities, and please don't think hive mind. It's so boring and so totally false. It's not a hive mind. You get into it, you touch it, and you get in, be in it for a little while, and you find out it's not a hive mind at all. It is an incredible, beautiful, complex, wonderfully informed mind. And it has all of these Greys, the 5-foot tall ones are all independent entities. And they are, each one of them is a separate personality, a separate person, often with a long history in the group mind, and an extraordinary, poignant shadow of being stretching back into the distant past of this magnificent being that is the Greys. You touch that, you just touch it a little bit, and suddenly you realize that we could be that one of these days. We could be that. It's a marvelous thing. And it's also, I have to bring up Dr. Diane Hennessy Powell and the telepathy tapes, and Kai Dickens, and the non-speakers. The visitors told me years ago that when telepathy comes to the surface, you seize on it because it's the next step. And when that appears in the world, people began to realize that it's there. That's important because that means that's like a signpost. And all of a sudden, I discover the telepathy tapes. I went to a big conference, the Soul Foundation conference at Stanford, and I talked the telepathy tapes up to everybody because I knew how important it was. The telepathy tapes, not just because of that, but for a lot of reasons, have ended up better with a bigger audience than Joe Rogan has on for a while. And people are realizing, and I'm going to have Diane Hennessy Powell on Dreamland next week, and people are realizing that not only can the unvoiced and the autistic be telepathic, they're telepathic because they have no other way to communicate. But you can learn telepathy. I'll tell you a little story. I was in Mexico recently, and I was crossing a street in just an ordinary neighborhood in Mexico City. And standing in front of me on the street corner, waiting for the light to change, was a woman, a mother, and her young, maybe 12 to 14-year-old daughter, who was unvoiced. And she was immediately aware of me because I have a telepathic ability that activates when I'm around somebody who's also telepathic. It's not on now and I can't turn them on. But when I come near someone who has a telepathic ability, they will notice it immediately. And so she turns around and she's surprised. And I realize that she's aware of me, and so I immediately project that, it's fine. I love you, and I'm very glad that you noticed me. And she smiles, and then her mother, who's also picks up on it, turns around and smiles. Then we try to talk, but it turns out I don't speak any Spanish and they don't speak any English, so that doesn't work. Then this wonderful thing happens. Suddenly, and this is listen closely, because this is the way this works, and it's different from the way, it's much bigger communication than we can do with voice. She shows me an image in my mind of a little dog. This dog, I immediately know it's her dog. And the thing that's so wonderful about this, it looks a lot like my dog that I had when I was a boy, who I loved dearly. Then my dog shows up and the two dogs are there in the image, and then the light changes. They both smile at me. The little girl waves, and off they go. And that's the end of the communication. And I was left thinking to myself, she showed me her dog, and my dog showed up, because my dog shows up a lot and my dog is not gone. And I thought to myself, now they've got two dogs, a physical dog and a ghost dog.
Wow.
And isn't that fun? And
Oh
isn't
my
it?
God, I love that story.
Yeah, we don't need to be afraid of this. I mean, let the government go out and shoot them down and go and do its thing until they get tired and they grow up. The listeners are here. They know we're not tame. They're taming us like, they tame us like you tame a little dog. When you're trying to tame a dog and you can't communicate with the dog any other way, the dog cannot understand a word you say, no matter how hard you try. You use like a newspaper, rolled up newspaper, and you bop the dog gently so that the dog hears the sound, and it catches his attention, and eventually he puts things together, and you've got a dog who will sit when told and do things. You can make all kinds of ways of doing that, but it's not sweetness and light. It's tough love again. And that's how they're teaching us. We are learning with tough love, and that's why the military is shooting at them and all of that. And they're sitting there patiently waiting. They deploy these ships with these little 3-foot tall beings in them, who are they're avatars of the biologically complete ones. In the book, I explain how the ones we have have studied are they don't have genitals. They can't reproduce. They're robotic, but they're not just robotic because they have brains the size of and complexity of the big ones. And that's because the big ones can project themselves into these bodies, because they're not like us. They're not sealed up in their bodies. They can come and go in their bodies. They will project themselves into one of these disposable bodies, and they will do things that are dangerous, that the body might be damaged by. And if it is damaged, then they pull out and go back to the biological body. So when you see people say, well, I saw this tall gray and he had like 5 or 6 other smaller ones around him, those 5 or 6 were also him. They were also him.
That is so fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's an absolutely wonderful, they're quite extraordinary. And they can get very dangerous too. You got to be careful with them, because they're not all sweetness and light. They have their own agendas here. They want us to survive for altruistic reasons, and also for their own reasons. They live outside of the stream of time. And the chance to go inside the stream of time, to enter one of us and to experience the new, is absolutely delicious for them. This is really one of the main reasons they want us to survive, because for us, everything is always new. For them, nothing is ever really new, not like that, because they just know too much. So we are like an R&R species for them. And at first, if you listen to Jake Barber in talking to Russ Coulthard, at one point he says that something came out of the machine that he was trying to pick up, and it possessed him, and it was a beautiful feminine energy. Well, that's the Greys. They lead. The feminine leads in the Gray species. They're feminine first. Unlike us, we're more confused. So we will be that way soon, but right now we're in a state of transition. We're going to be feminine first, and then we're going to become telepathic also over the next 200 or 300 years if we last. So anyway, this came into him, and he found it a sweet possession. He loved it, and he still does. It's still in him like that, he said. But there's another level to this. Possession means you've given something of your will up. And that's only the beginning of a relationship. I lived that too. But now I'm in communion. And in communion, you're partners in the journey. When they enter me not to dominate me, but to share my experience of time with me. And it's lovely. It's just it's the sweetest, most friendly thing you can imagine. And my wife, she knew all of this from the beginning. She was really a sacred being. She also cussed like a trooper. You wouldn't know she was a sacred being until you got really down close to her. So she called the book, she named my first book Communion, because she said to me, Whitley, I was call it body terror because it was so scary what had happened to me. It was like a physical terror. And she said, Whitley, it's not about that. Call it communion. That's what it's really about. Mm. Now, all of these years later, a lot of us are figuring out how to turn this sweet possession, or maybe a scary possession, into a state of communion, an extraordinary sharing that makes us a bigger part of the universe.
Thank you. We're at the halfway point of the show. I do want to let people know, and we'll do this twice, but Whitley's website is unknowncountry.com, unknowncountry.com. And I want to encourage everyone to subscribe to his amazing Dreamland programs. He knows the best of the best people that are in this world. So when you go to his website, click subscribe now. I'm going to do that during our little break. That explains all the reasons to subscribe. You're going to get a lot. Full hour and a half of Dreamland, and it's very inexpensive. Lifetime membership is only $350, or you can renew for as little as $39.50 a year. And he does a lot of very important programs. So while we're on our break, you may want to do that. And we are going to go to the sweet one, the one who doesn't need tough love, Whitley. God, may we all have the heart and soul of this beautiful man, John Martin.
I love him, my friend John.
Love you back, Whitley. Thank you so much. I learned so much from you each time.
A little closer to the microphone, John.
Each time we speak, I learn so much. And I would encourage everyone to join Unknown Country. In just a few minutes, we'd all be on the chat together, and you can talk with Whitley and ask him questions. And it's so exciting.
It's not every Wednesday night.
Yes, it's one of my favorite things that I do on a regular basis. So I would encourage everyone to do that. Absolutely.
John, I'm going to play the video that you sent me today. Do you want to, is there any introduction you'd like to give?
Yeah,
There are some people who don't know you.
I'm a classically trained guitarist, and so I use my music to communicate with our star family. That's symbolism, and I think one of its highest forms. and they use symbols as well. It's a nonverbal communication that they send to me, although occasionally I will hear small snippets from them. I was working on my book, and I was thinking about the different races of our star family, and I was thinking of the term Andromedans, and then very clearly they said that it's just not an accurate term. It would be like us calling ourselves the Milky Wayans, because there's a billion stars in Andromeda. So they will do these lovely small ideas, peace to all. They gave me that many times. They showed me heart-shaped clouds. When I first began playing my music, I had dinner with President Carter, and in Spain, and we discussed UFOs. And so from that and Close Encounters, I went and combined those ideas, and I sat on my deck and I started playing this beautiful guitar music that I've played my whole life, and these craft just started coming in. A purple plasma domed craft with a pink ring around the bottom third of the bell, and then 4 craft, 2 sets of 2, and then after that, a few days later, a cross and crescent shaped metallic craft, 2 of them, the size of office buildings, came, and I was trying to take their picture, and they said, in my mind, very clearly, please don't take our picture. We'll give you something you can take a picture of. And a few days later, a beautiful heart-shaped cloud appeared in my courtyard, right where I saw that cloud itself. And I did some research, and I was looking up cross and crescent shaped craft, and no craft came up, but there were numbers of crop circles that had been laid down in the shape of crescents and crosses. And I thought that was just magnificent. If you look behind Whitley, you will see the crescent itself in the picture behind him. And they made a perfect star cloud as well. And they're cross and crescent and star clouds. And that with the heart-shaped cloud, I feel it was a message of unity on so many disparate areas in this world. And I just thought that was a lovely gift that they gave me. So anyway, this is just an overview of my experiences with our star family.
Beautiful. Two things. Put your questions in the chat box. Whitley may want to take a look at and see some of the questions. There's already some good ones that have come in. When we come back, we'll get to questions and answers. And I just want to remind everybody, as you're listening to John, the way he talks to the star people, the way he talks to the visitors, the way he talks to the galactic family. First of all, wouldn't it be lovely if we all spoke to each other that way, as well as speaking to the others? And so you are my role model, John. I teach compassionate communication, and you've taken it to a whole nother level. And then look at the blessing of what he gets to experience. So let's all watch and listen to John, and thank you for putting together this brand new video, never seen before. This is just for us tonight, right now. Thank you, John.
My pleasure.
I want to make sure of one thing. Yes, okay.
Hey, beautiful ones. Hey, my gorgeous friends. Thank you for coming to see me. Hey, beautiful ones. I was asking what your name was. Thank you, sweet friends. Love you. Thank you, friends. Wow. Wow.
Oh, there's my friends. Oh, there's 2.
Oh, how gorgeous.
Wow.
So awesome, friends. Beautifully done. Wow, that was great. Thank you, sweet friends.
Whoa, what was that?
gorgeous. There's a craft, for sure. Thank you, beautiful ones. My gracious, that's beautiful. Wow, lovely. Thank you, beautiful ones. My goodness. That was fantastic. Great. Two! Hey, lovely ones. Hey, gorgeous ones. Oh, how wonderful. Absolutely beautiful. One, two, Karen. Hey, oh, look at y'all. Let's see how this does. Perfect. Right through the center. Gorgeous. Hey, sweet friend. Beautiful. Hey, loveliest. Hey, my dear ones. How gorgeous. It's up there. That's amazing. That's wonderful. Thank you, friends. Wonderful. Thank you, my friends. That's just great. Thank you, lovely friends. Wow. Thank you, beautiful ones. Oh, keep both of y'all in there. Thank you, beautiful friends. Thank you. That was awesome. Wow. That was really awesome. Thank you. Hey, thank you, my friends. How absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Hey, my dear friends. Hey, gorgeous ones. You're so wonderful. Thank you, sweet friends. Thank you, beautiful ones. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you, loveliest. So important to me. Thank you. Thank you, gorgeous ones. Thank you, my dear friends. So beautiful. Have a lovely night. Thank you. There you go. Come right through. Hey, friend. Thank you. Thank you, gorgeous one. Thank you, beautiful one. Hey, hey. Yes, indeed. Thank you, my lovely one. That was fantastic. Thank you. Gorgeous. Thank you, my beautiful one. Thank you for that. Beautiful one. Oh, my goodness. Hey, loveliest. Oh, you are gorgeous. Hey, beautiful one. Hey, my sweet friends. Oh, how lovely. Thank you. Thanks for coming to see me, dear friends. There's one up an airplane. So wonderful. Oh, they're doing it. Thank you, they're absolutely doing it. Oh, my gracious. Thank you, friends. Hey, gorgeous. So wonderful to see you tonight. Thank you, beautiful one. Absolutely gorgeous. Thank you. Gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. Wow. Thank you, friend. Oh, how beautiful. Thank you, gorgeous ones. With the universe, and that's what happens is you're just naturally aligned with something that's so inspiring, it's so beautiful, it's so important, and so loving and giving.
think you're muted, Scott. I can't hear you.
I love that you included the time you're on our show and the orb flashed by.
It was
I had
amazing.
forgotten about that.
That was a good one.
Whitley, how is it for you watching John's videos, listening to his music? What do you have anything you'd like to share?
John's stuff is really healthy. It's a health trip to watch his stuff. Because love is healthy,
Yeah.
and he's got a lot of it in him, and he's got a, you know, they like it, obviously. I know people who struggle to call in orbs, and he doesn't have any trouble because, it's a relationship.
Mhm.
John's got a relationship of a kind now, of a kind that we're going to all hopefully have eventually if we can settle down and stop carping and screaming and stuff. We're like a little wild creature that's got to be tamed, and the Greys are trying hard. And in my case, they often get pissed off at me, and because I'm hard to train. But John isn't. He just sends his love out, and they send theirs back, and it's beautiful. You don't even know what those herbs are. None of us do. We don't
No
know.
idea. Yeah.
When I'm working on a video that's going to go up on my site for my subscribers shortly. Uh, I mean, in the next couple of days, and it's about uh, a type of meditation that I do, and you can. I've got a lot of cameras in this house because, as you may imagine, I would love to get an image of the Greys, and they've explained to me very carefully why they won't do that yet. But that, never say never. And so the cameras are pretty much always on. And every once in a while, I meditate, as I said earlier, every night. And every once in a while, during one of the meditations, orbs show up. A lot of orbs show up sometimes just a few. And I pulled a clip of one of the times when loads of orbs showed up. And there's no question that they're orbs. They're not dust. When you see the clip, it's very obvious. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to narrate as I show the clip where I am in the exercise that I do. And before that, I'll explain why it is that it works and why it does draw them to you. And then afterwards, I'll demonstrate the exercise.
Well, that's going to be very valuable for us to watch.
Yeah.
John, I'm going to bring you up again. I want to let people know that you have a beautiful book out, and you can get it on Amazon. It's called The Universe Loves You, My Personal History and Your Guide to Making Positive and Meaningful Contact with Our Star Family. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. I
wanted to thank you and Whitley for contributing in the book, Scott. Whitley did the foreword and you did the introduction, and it was important for me to have two people I respect and love so much sharing your own perspective of this really vital subject. So I wanted to thank both of you now for that.
Thank you for being a beautiful inspiration, and like Whitley said, really demonstrating what's possible in our relationship and modeling it so beautifully, so beautifully.
Like I just say quickly, I think each of us are so unique, and that's what our larger galactic family are interested in is, we've survived in this very difficult third dimension. We're here today, and the history of our lives are like a fingerprint, and everybody is so unique in their skill sets and talents and challenges. I've had a lot of hard things in my life, I'll tell you, and during one of the more really difficult periods, that beautiful heart-shaped cloud with a piece taken out, which was, an impacted heart that reflected the challenge that I was going through. And if you look under it, you could see a small craft just barely in our dimension. And it was, to me, I feel it was the same one that was earlier in that video that was flying and doing the different aerobatics in the air. So I mean, it's a fascinating and wonderful experience, and as Whitley said, it's beautiful in so many ways. So anyway, it's an honor to be here. Absolutely.
In our final 20 minutes, we're going to ask Whitley some questions, and then we will have an Omashore song. John, while you're on camera, do you have a question for Whitley?
Gosh, that's a good one. This was a question that Whitley and I discussed. And do you think, Whitley, that we can have relationships with those of the past? And do you think that our star family can intercede in that connection?
I don't know about interceding in the connection, but it depends on how well prepared a person is to do that before they pass. The more coherent your soul is, and the more it stays you after you pass, the more I think the more you can communicate with this level, because the tempo of everything changes. And communicated with me very fulsomely for many years. Now less so, because she's moving on, and she may have even been reincarnated for all I know. And so, but early on, one of the first things she said when we reconnected after she died was, "It looks like everybody's intentionally ignoring us." And that is a stance. And we take that stance because we're supposed to be here and do this in the stream of time. We're here gathering energy from our experience, and our dead are like the visitors. They know more of the future and more of the past, and if we're too close to them, then we lose the spontaneity of experience, and our life becomes pointless. You're alive and dead at the same time, and that is not a good state to be in. So the answer is yes, they are. And if the conditions are right, and the person that you want to communicate with is still present, or you have a good psychic who's sensitive enough to detect their presence, which is very helpful, and a lot of good ones around, then yeah, you can communicate. And as time goes on, they will leave this level. Some of them will ascend. Some of them will come back into this life again, and you won't be able to communicate so well. Some of them will linger in this level for many, many years. When I was not a little boy, a young man, I was in my 20s when my grandmother died. My great grandmother lived to the age of 106, and my grandmother was absolutely convinced she would do the same. Only she died at the age of 86. And I went to her funeral, and the coffin was in the aisle of the church, and the priest, who was Catholic, priest was saying the funeral mass. And all of a sudden, and you understand, I knew nothing about any of this at the time, nothing. These 6 beautiful, big, softly glowing orbs came in from both sides of the church and lined up around the coffin. And I was astonished. At first I assumed everyone saw him, but then I realized nobody was looking at him except me. And I thought, wow, what in the world am I seeing here? And I heard an explanation that she was still in her body in the coffin. She didn't realize she was dead, and they were her soul family trying to get her out.
Wow, that's
And so the next thing I knew, she was still still didn't know she was dead 6 weeks or so later. And I had this interaction with her where she was telling me about all the beautiful houses she had created in her life and so forth. And she she didn't know she was dead. And then years passed, 2 or 3 years passed, and there she was again suddenly. She was just staring with her back to me, staring at the front of a house only. There was nothing left except just this front of this beautiful red brick house with climbing roses up it and stuff. It's beautiful. That was her only memory left of this world. And I finally got her to turn around. She turns around. She sees me. She realizes finally that she's not in the physical world anymore. Her eyes, which had been staring very intently, the irises turned to gold, and she was gone.
Oh, wow.
So they don't stay, but while they're here, yes, we can communicate with them.
Mhm. I'm really appreciating you sharing that story, Whitley. I don't know if you recall, we talked about this once before, but my wife also passed away 13 years ago now, in November 2011. And the first year and a half, a lot of interaction. She was coming to me and coming to a lot of people, and then just slowly but surely, less and less.
Yeah.
You know, similar with Dad. Go
That's
ahead.
what happened with Anne over the past few months.
Yeah.
She was here for many years. 'Cause I'm really slow, and I needed help, and she knew it. But now she's moved on, and I wish her well. I love her so much, and I know that whatever she is doing, it's very much what she wants and very worth doing, because she was a good human being, and good people get lots of space.
Beautiful. Hey, I want to share with you, I got a text message actually from a woman named Suzette Marie, who's a fan of yours, and she wanted me to send a special thank you, saying that your books have really helped her to understand her experiences. And she sent this photograph that she took of one of the times that she had visitors. So this is Suzette Marie's photograph with a visitor. And just really wanting you to know, Whitley, how much your books have helped her to understand her experience and to be able to work with it in a loving way.
Oh, good. My books are about getting past the shock of contact, and making it our own.
In our final 10 minutes, and then what we'll do, because I'm going to let Whitley go at 7:30. John's going to play a little music for us, and we'll have a chat. But there are a couple of questions that have come in, John, that I want to ask you. One is actually from a Facebook user wanting to know, what are your thoughts about the multiverse? Of course, we're seeing all the Marvel movies and a lot now of multiverse. In your understanding, either through contact with the Greys or through just all the extraordinary people you talk to, do you believe that there are a number of parallel universes, parallel Earths, even a parallel Whitley? What are your thoughts on that?
Parallel Whitley. Well, I've actually got a lot of thoughts on that. No surprise there, I suppose.
Good. Well, but you can bring in as many parallel Whitleys as you want to comment.
Okay. The year before COVID, I went to the Lakota Sioux Pine Ridge Reservation for a conference. And I had there the most extraordinary experience. I found out quite by accident, sitting in a car, driving along, but yeah, I was in a car with friends, someone else was driving, and I was pretty tired. I leaned my head back and closed my eyes, and out of the sunroof of the car, I saw another sky. In other words, the roof was closed, you understand. I would have seen just the ceiling of the car. But when I closed my eyes, I saw another sky. And then when I closed my eyes looking straight ahead, it was another world. It was the same place, but the Pine Ridge Reservation has a Bureau of Indian Affairs road on it, which is a 2-lane graded highway. This had a carriage road. And when the car stayed on the graded highway and the carriage road went down with the landscape, it felt like I was losing my stomach, like, when you go up real fast in an elevator or something. And I'm astonished. I thought, God, this is really extraordinary. It went on like that the whole weekend. Every time I closed my eyes. Alan Steinfeld was actually there, and he took pictures of me while I was in this state. When I came home, of course, I rushed to figure out what has happened here, because this was darned real. And I discovered something called the mirror universe, which is many physicists feel it has to be real. The physics is very convincing. And then I discovered I could see into it here in Santa Monica, where I live. That if the sun was shining brightly enough and I could close my eyes and sit on the bluff at the end of Santa Monica, where is a beautiful bluff overlooking the Pacific, I could see the other world in there. Then one morning I was getting out of bed and suddenly I was riding a bicycle it was not my bicycle, and I was riding down Montana Avenue. Everything was subtly different. The streetlights didn't work the same, and I realized I've gone physically into this other world. How cool is this? Then I ended up coming back, and I couldn't get back in there, and I never have been able to get back in there physically. But I do know there's another version of me there. I even know what he is. He's a college professor, and he's not a very successful one. So that's what I know about him. And he looks a lot like me. And we've had a couple of instances where we've just looked at each other. It's been fascinating. So that's my only, with a life like mine, I never talk about it. I don't speculate about anything. I just tell my experiences. That's quite enough. As far as more parallel universes, I don't know. But that one is real, in my opinion.
Beautiful. Thank you. I also had an experience where I woke up in another dimension, and I was Scott, but Scott who had made different choices in my life. So it is a blessing to have these experiences. And
It sure is. It's wonderful fun. It's such a joy. We live in such a dire world, and all the news is always bad. And you have to remember how to have fun with your spiritual journey, how to make it a joy. That woman, oops, well, you know where she is. I'm mirrored here and I can't use my hands right. Anyway, she said, have joy. And her favorite quote of Meister Eckhart, the great theologian and theological master of the 12th century, was, God laughs and plays. And that's maybe where we should leave this. Don't be afraid to laugh and play. That's how you get ahead. She used to always say, if you're on a serious spiritual journey and really learning to look at yourself, you'll know when you start to laugh that you're on the right path.
Beautiful. I totally agree. Joy, I noticed Eleanor Joy, one of our favorites, is waving. She's who started the dancing on our show. I do agree about ending with joy, but I've got a couple more questions if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Dubois asks, Bashar talks about direct contact coming, that it's planned, that the star nations want to share our actual history with us. Whitley, do you have any thoughts on that? If the Greys want us to know our history, do they want us to become integrated into the wider galactic family?
Well, I certainly hope they do, because it seems clear enough to me that they're becoming more and more a focused reality in our world. As to their motives and so forth, you know, I can't tell you what they haven't told me. And that is all I know, that they are becoming a more focused reality. Where that will lead, knowing them, they probably don't even know, but it'll lead somewhere interesting, I hope.
Is there any, in terms of joy, is there any places you can send people or suggest to increase joy? And also, earlier somebody was asking to increase telepathy. Are there courses that you recommend?
No, I don't recommend courses. And as far as increasing joy is here now, wherever you are, that's where joy goes and is. No matter how hard your situation is, you can always find it. You can always find it.
Mhm.
As far as telepathy is concerned, the spellers were very clear about this. You have to be kind and you cannot lie. Then telepathy is easy, because if you need to hide things, you're not going to do telepathy. The Greys are totally buck naked in terms of that telepathy. And the hybrids, who are really, really they have very testy dispositions until you get really close to them. And then suddenly you find there's an incredible sweetness in their community among themselves. And that's true of the spellers as well. And it can be true of all of us. Don't lie, and be kind. You know, Annie was a hidden master, and my wife, and I asked her once about compassion, which I've always been very curious about. What is it? I said, how do you be compassionate? And she glances over at me. She's in the kitchen and making dinner, and she says, each of us, Whitley, is all we have. Changed my life. She's making fish dinner and she changes. and because you look at another person, anyone, someone you don't like, someone you love, someone you're afraid of, someone you feel pity for, someone you feel jealousy for, someone you have contempt for, any of them. And you say to yourself, that person is all they have. And a deeper love emerges in you right away. And you have to have the courage to say that about yourself too. I am all I have. This is what I have. This is real compassion. She lived it. And I try to as well. And that, I think, it's worth knowing. Very powerful stuff. You want a course in telepathy? Be kind, don't lie, and live that kind of compassion. And those who can speak in that quiet way will speak to you too, perhaps. And you'll be able to speak to them when they do. And then over time, maybe more will come to you. I don't think any course could ever teach this. That's right. Be kind, don't lie. Live the compassion. If you lie, you have to hide. You have to hide. You can't be telepathic, because, and I speak from experience, you're totally naked.
Right.
Totally naked. Everybody sees everything. And you know, you'll find out something too when you're with people who are telepathic. It's okay that you screwed up a lot in life. Everybody did. And everybody's nakedness is full of these hilarious and awful things. You just get used to it. It's like being on a nudist beach in France. Everybody's a completely corpulent mess. And it's okay. It's
Nobody can.
okay.
Oh, beautiful. Diara says yes, advanced compassion, exposing our true selves. And
Yeah, that's a beautiful phrase over there, the era, exposing our true selves. Don't be afraid to do it. Of course, you're not pretty. Nobody's pretty. But we're here anyway.
Thank you so much, Whitley. I want to take people one last
Such a
time.
joy to be with you, Scott. It's always very special.
Yeah, likewise. Likewise. I really love who you are and how you communicate. And
Thank you.
again, his website is unknowncountry.com. And let's all get his new book. I'm looking forward to it. The Fourth Mind. And we can get it on Kindle. Is there going to be an
Yeah,
audio?
it's on Kindle and in paperback right now. It
Okay.
will be as an audiobook and probably within the week.
Oh, great. Do
And
you narrate your
hardcover book.
do you narrate your own audiobook?
I narrate my own audiobooks.
Oh, that's-
Absolutely. There's a lot in the voice, a lot. And if you know how to communicate, really communicate with your voice, you have to narrate your own book. And I do my best with that.
Beautiful. This is Audible. And this is Whitley Strieber. So I Whitley, so much love. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
look forward to
Thanks
seeing you in
everybody
Dreamland.
for having me.
One more thing, Whitley. Did you have a video coming up soon that you're releasing?
A video I'm releasing? Oh
Yeah.
no, I have the social media people who work with me release videos all the time. And there's, you go on my YouTube channel, Whitley Strieber Dreamland, you'll find lots of them. Or my Instagram, there's lots of them on Instagram too.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay, good to know. Whitley Strieber Dreamland on YouTube. I'll go find that. John, I'm going to switch over to you because people would love to hear you play some guitar, and we can integrate all that we've heard from Whitley with your most beautiful guitar.
Okay, let's do that.
And I also want to just acknowledge your connection to President Carter, who of course recently passed. And, so much for being with us, John. Lighting the way.
He was a great spirit and a dear friend, and it was an honor to have be able to call him a friend. This piece is Whitley. This is a meditation that you inspired me to write. So this is dedicated to you.
I'm Whitley Strieber. This is my YouTube channel. Every week on this channel,
going to go to gallery view. First is just send John some twinkles and some love and some appreciation.
Thank you. It's a great
Wow.
honor to be here today.
It's always so beautiful to have you with us, John. You bring so much. Well, I've said it several times today. You are our role model. I am going to read a few of the comments that have come in, and I see that Diara writes, a perfect blend of John and Whitley in that moment. And I think she was referencing, I apologize. I was pulling up Whitley's YouTube channel to show everybody. And on his particular channel, when you go there, he speaks to you. So I apologize for that interruption. There was something nice about hearing his voice and your music at the same time. Susan writes, Whitley, you've given us a lot to think about, so much gratitude. Susan agrees with you, John. President Carter was an exceptional man. Dia, very excited about the audio that you just provided us. And just a lot of appreciations coming in for Whitley and for you, John. Thank you so much.
Oh, what a pleasure, Scott. And you are a hero to so many of us. I think everyone here would just unanimously say you have created a magical place here, and you've created just a new world for us in your own way. And thank you.
Well, thank you. A little taste of an awakening world. And, you know, it's so beautiful to have people like you and Whitley and all of the different presenters that we have, giving us inspiration at a time that the media is feeding us so much crap and so much negativity and so much toxicity and so many lies. You know, when Whitley was talking about to be telepathic, no more lying. I can think of a few people that are have a lot of power right now that definitely will not be experiencing telepathy, will they?
I needed this today as much as anybody. So thank you.
Oh, I love you, John. Thank you.
Love you, Scott. Absolutely. Thank you.
Oh, all right. Let me tell you about what's going to be coming up on Saturday night. I'm going to be at the Conscious Life Expo. I'm driving down to Los Angeles. I'm leaving Nevada City tomorrow. Going to stop about halfway and visit a friend, and then come on into LA on Friday morning. And we'll be at the Conscious Life Expo. So I don't know exactly who I'm going to interview yet. I've got some people lined up. I definitely will do something with JJ and Desiree Hertalk. And so it'll be very spontaneous. Some of the people that I meet at the expo, some old friends, and hopefully some new people that I meet there that I'm really impressed with, that I invite to come be with us. So Saturday it's going to be very spontaneous until 8 p.m. And then at 8 p.m., we've got something really, really special that I'm excited about. Those of you that are regulars will remember both Uta and Natalie. They both are part of the Twin Ray community. They've done KES group healings for us. Well, they are coming together to share a new process that they've created, which is an ascension activation. And I believe we're going to be the first people that they are sharing their ascension activation with. So that's going to be at 8 o'clock Pacific time, following the main show on Saturday night. So definitely join us live if at all possible. It's going to be a really special night. And thank you, everybody. Again, a big thanks to Whitley and to John, and of course, to our beloved Omashar, who, just as he gets us started, will be closing us out. Take it away, brother.
Didn't know what time it was, the lights were low. I leaned back on my radio. Some cat was laying down some rock and roll, he said. the loud sound seemed to fade. He came back like a slow voice on a wave of haze. That weren't no DJ, that was cosmic jive, he said. There's a star man waiting in the sky. He'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our mind. There's a star man waiting in the sky. He told us not to blow it, cause he thinks it's all worthwhile. He told me, let the children lose it, let all the children use it, let all the children boogie. Bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-da-da-da-da-da, ba-dum, bum, bum, well, I had to phone someone, so I picked on you. Hey, that's far out. So you heard him too. Switch on the TV, we may pick him up on channel 2. Look out your window, I can see his light. If we can sparkle, he may land tonight. Don't tell your papa, or he'll get locked up in fright. There's a star man waiting in the sky. He'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our minds. There's a star man waiting in the sky. He told us not to blow it, cause he thinks it's all worthwhile. He told me, let the children lose it, let all the children lose it, let the children boogie. Dum, dum, bum, bum, dum, bum, bum, da-da-da-da-da, dum, bum, bum, da-da-da-da-da, dum, bum, bum, da-da-da-da-da. Cause he thinks he'll blow our minds. Let the children lose it, let all the children use it, let all the children boogie.
Oh, wasn't that awesome? I love how Omashar will come up with a cover song like that fits the show so beautifully, but then also reminds us of other times in our life.
I know, right? And it's a trip because I spent a couple of days working on that. I was thinking to try and make it like the original, and it was going to be like a mega production. It was too much, and I thought, how about if I just play it as a song? And it's a beautiful song.
It is a beautiful song, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's got a very sweet melody to it.
It does. Thank you.
Loved your version
Thank
of
you,
that,
beloved
Omashar.
Omashar. We love you so much.
Beautiful.
You're welcome, John. Thank you, dude. Your guitar and your presence just brings me to my center even more. And for some reason, this show tonight was really tender. And what I love about Whitley, even more than I did before, was how he can bring us into that space too. He's talking about these galactic interstellar communications, and he brings it right into the heart and out from the heart. And so what a gift we had tonight, all of us.
There is something very special about Whitley that historically is going to be recognized when we do have full disclosure. He's a major component of that.
There was something that he mentioned. Why I brought up that I thought he had a video coming out. He was saying about there was some disclosure coming about Mars and all that. Do you remember?
I think, if I understood correctly, it's going to be an upcoming episode of Dreamland.
Aha, thank you.
Yeah, an upcoming episode of Dreamland where he's going to reveal this new evidence they have about what really is going on with the moon and with Mars.
Yes, yes, undeniable evidence. That's one of the
It was
big words.
Valentine's Day, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And you know, do y'all know the thing about how the moon is exactly as far away from us in something as it is from the sun, and that's why we get eclipses, and no other planet in our solar system gets an eclipse. We're the only one gets an eclipse. And it
Wow.
has to do with there is like this absolute mathematical perfection to where the moon is to us compared to the sun. And the chances of that randomly happening are like 1 in a gazillion.
That's phenomenal. The mathematical perception in our universe is precise. I know
Yeah,
that.
I think the
I'm getting-
sun is 400 times farther away than the diameter of the moon, which is exact match, which is hard to imagine that is a coincidence, really.
Yeah, say that again so
that
people
one
can
over there and that one over there.
say it again.
Yeah, so the sun is 400 times larger and 400 times farther away than the moon. And so when they cross perfectly, that's when you have the full eclipse. And yeah, that's unique to the Earth.
It's pretty interesting. Jude in the chat box says that RJ Spina says that the moon and the Earth were placed here. Maybe, who knows? I mean, God only knows. More questions for Whitley. And it has, you know, somebody mentioned that the shows this year have been really good. I gotta say, I'm so proud of our shows so far in 2025. You know, what we've heard from Steve Bassett, what we've heard from so many of our guests has been very, very powerful. And I think this Saturday night, I'm looking forward to see who drops into our world. So who drops into our awakening world. Mashar, John, love you both so much. Thank you. And I'll go to gallery review one last time. Good night, everybody. Have a great few days. I look forward to seeing you on Saturday night. Take care, everybody.